This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well-being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm really excited to talk with you about today about the reason habits are so important, the reason habits matter. And we talked about this in the last couple episodes, and we're just going to even take it a bit further because habits have so much to do with who we are. And my inspiration comes from James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. And James starts out right out of the gate saying identity change is the North Star of habit change. And I love that because I think we often, don't think of it like that. And then he says, the big question is, right? The moment of truth here is, are you becoming the type of person you want to become? This is what James is asking. And then he says, the first step is not what or how, but who. I know for myself, when I was first reading this book, I thought, wow, I think we have that sort of backwards. But, before reading this book, I'm like, wow, I didn't think about this in this way. And it really shed a lot of light on the importance of getting a visual for who you'd like to become, because I think we often think that's so etched in stone. And then James says, you need to know who you want to be. You need to know who you want to be. He says, otherwise, your quest for change is like a boat without a rudder. I also really like how James talks about, sort of like a voting ballot or a vote box, casting your vote in a box, because he says each and every time we make a choice to perform an action, right? Each and every time we go in this direction, that direction, or this direction, and we choose to act. He said it's like you drop a vote in the box for the type of person you wish to become. And I love that, because it also, there's a sense of, how they accumulate and help us to build ourselves, kind of brick by brick into who we want to be. Because I think often we think that, it is that we're etched in stone. And though some of that, there's some truth to that with genetics, because, the cards we're dealt certainly have a lot to do with who we become, in that way. However, there's a lot of wiggle room to change how we identify our identity totally. And in all sorts of ways. And he says that no single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. This is one reason why meaningful change does not require radical change. I love that. Meaningful change does not require radical change. It takes us back to that whole 1% thing we talked about last time. He said small habits can make a meaningful difference by providing evidence of a new identity. And if a change is meaningful, it actually is big. That is so important, I think, for us to get. That's the paradox of making small improvements. And I know, as mentioned, the last episode, maybe the one before that, patience is not, I had, the good Lord threw a lot of gifts into my gift bag when I was born onto this earth. And I'll tell you, patience was not one of those in the gift bag. I want everything yesterday. And so I certainly get how people can lose patience. They get the the treadmill, the Peloton, the this, the that. Especially we talked about around New Year's Eve. Week 3 comes, you lost 0.03 ounces, or instead of losing a half inch, you added one on, and you're thinking, what's the point of this, right? And that was just a weight example, but whatever example it is, days at the gym or money in the bank or whatever like that, and this comes up and that comes up, and you had to buy new snow tires, and then you didn't. Not only did you not save, but now you're in the red. So I just know how frustrating that can be, and so for me, it's kind of liberating that James Clear in his book Atomic Habits makes this. He sort of normalizes that we get frustrated and impatient, and that unfortunately, the change actually is accumulating underneath, but we throw in the towel before it has a chance to kind of be visible. So he says with some examples here, and I love examples. He said, so putting this all together, you can see that habits are the path to changing your identity. The most practical way to change who you are is to change what you do. And then he's got 4 examples here. He says, each time you write a page, you are a writer. I'm going to stop right there because I do all kinds of, positive self-talk to myself. Right there with that first sentence that James said, each time you write a page, you are a writer, and I am a writer. It's important to say that. I am a writer because, imposter syndrome, as we all know, it, is very, very common, where we don't really believe we're as good as, the world is telling us, or the publisher is telling us, or the boss is telling us, or our friends are telling us, or whoever are telling us. So we can really combat that also when we do, when we kind of, make one small step in the right direction. So by writing one page, you're starting the children's book you wanted to write, for 2 decades or whatever. And if you do an illustration, well, then you're an author of a children's book, or you're an illustrator, or both. He says each time you practice the violin, you are a musician. Each time you start a workout, you are an athlete. That is what I say to myself a lot, actually. Each time you encourage your employees, you are a leader. And I really like that one, because the leaders of the world with big L's and small L's are just so important. They make such a difference in this world when they're good leaders, healthy, authentic leaders that don't go, an unhealthy direction with power. When they're good people in positions of power, wow, I mean, things just get done, and it makes a difference with people, and it can move mountains like that. And we're not just talking about the results. It's kind of like I've said before, when we find ourselves being resilient, or if we're not confident, but we have a confident moment or whatever like that, it's kind of a deposit in the self-esteem bank. And so it's not different with really little itty bitty 1% changes in our habits. And James says that each habit not only gets results, but also teaches you something far more important, which is to trust yourself. You start to believe you can actually accomplish these things. When the votes mount up and the evidence begins to change, the story you tell yourself begins to change as well. This is so freaking important. And so, in a nutshell, and I have to tell you, I love this book, his book, Atomic Habits. I've gotten a lot of the way through it right now, and I should give you an update on me. So, my water habit, I'm actually sitting right here with my water bottle. My water habit, I was like 2 episodes ago, I think I mentioned this. Our oldest son gave this to me, along with this really like high-end yoga mat. It's a Lulu, and some weights from my birthday and Christmas, and I've used them, and now I'm using them a lot because I have a whole workout regimen. And I also did a habit stacking thing with my water bottle. All this follows my gratitude journal, and this is the end of week 2, and I have been very consistent with my 36 ounces of water, which I'm actually on my 3rd one now. So that I'm heading up into the whatever that is with the math, 18 times 3, and it's really, really working. I have to tell you though, I don't remember myself being thirsty so much as I am since I started drinking water. That's sort of weird. But this Atomic Habits thing is really working out. Habit stacking is a good thing. Okay, so anyway, this is all about the real reason why habits matter right here. Okay, is because of the direct relationship to who we are and what type of person we want to be. So To wrap it up, James says, ultimately, your habits matter because they help you become the type of person you wish to be. They are the channel through which you develop your deepest beliefs about yourself. Quite literally, you become your habits. Love it. Okay, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the very beautiful Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.